question, and I want you to actually think about this before you keep watching. How many hours do you think you spent on your phone yesterday? Just your phone. Hold that number in your head. Now, what if I told you that number is probably wrong and the real number is higher? That's where we're starting today. Welcome to Corner Talk. I'm Miss Techie, and today's topic is, before we talk to our kids, let's talk about us first. I'm breaking this into a mini-series because screen time is one of those topics that everybody has an opinion about, but very few people are actually looking at the evidence. And when you do look at the evidence, what you find is more nuanced than just put the phone down. Because screen time is not simply about how long you're staring at that device. It is about what you're doing on that device, why you're doing it, and what it is actually costing you or giving you, depending on the context. That is what makes screen time truly multidimensional, and that is exactly why it deserves more than a 2-minute take. In this first video, we're going to look at what the research actually tells us about adult screen and well-being, get honest about our own habits, and talk about some practical strategies that are actually doable in real life. So let's get into it. Before I get into the research, I want you to do something that I did this morning. Go into your phone settings and pull up your screen time data. Take a real look at it, not just the total number at the top, but the breakdown, because here is where it gets real interesting. When I looked at mine today, it showed 3 hours on social media. And at first glance, that looks like a lot. And honestly, if I were watching someone else's video, I might judge that number too. But when I tapped into the breakdown, 2.5 of those 3 hours were a WhatsApp call with my sister. It's her birthday. We're in different countries. That call wasn't mindless scrolling. That was connection. That was family. That was exactly the kind of screen time that probably contributes to well-being rather than reducing it. And that right there is why I said at the beginning that screen time is multidimensional. The number alone doesn't tell the whole story. Context matters. What you're doing, who you're doing it with, and why you picked up that device in the first place. So as you look at your own data, I want you to resist the urge to just react to the not total. Dig into the breakdown. Ask yourself, which of these hours served me and which ones didn't? Hold those answers because the research we're going to look at is going to speak directly to that distinction. The OECD, that's the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, published a report in 2025 titled Screen Time and Subjective Well-Being, Insights from a Few Countries Worldwide. And what they found was not what most people expect. It wasn't simply screens are bad, use them less. It was more nuanced than that and honestly more useful. They found that individuals who spend more than 5 hours per day on personal screen use are significantly more likely to report poor well-being outcomes. But here's the part that gets overlooked. Individuals with low personal screen time also showed worse outcomes. Both underuse and overuse were linked to reduced well-being. What showed the most favorable outcomes? Moderate use. That's roughly 1 and 3 hours per day. That's called digital balanced engagement. And that phrase alone matters. Here's me being transparent with you, because I think that matters. I'm a heavy screen user. As a technology educator and digital content creator, screens are literally my work. And for a long time, I told myself that that made it okay, and that my screen time was different because it was professional. But the research doesn't really make that distinction when it comes to your body, your sleep, or your mental health. So I had to get honest with myself, and I had to find strategies that were realistic, not put your phone in another room and meditate, but things that I could actually do within the life I actually have. Here's what I do and why each one matters. First, I permanently have my phone on silence and have turned off majority of push notifications except for emails. And that's only because email is my primary work communication channel, and other apps that pertain to my well-being like the health app and so on. Every other notification was designed by an app to pull me back in. Turning them off was me deciding when I check in instead of the app deciding for me. Second, during my lunch breaks, I make a conscious effort to step away from screens entirely and I read a physical book instead. That's not about being old-fashioned. It's because your brain needs transition time. And scrolling through social media during a break isn't rest. It's a different kind of stimulation. Third, I gamify my screen time reduction. I look at my weekly screen report and I try to lower the numbers week over week, even by a few minutes. It turns a habit I want to break into a small daily challenge I actually want to win. If you're not at the point where you feel like you have the willpower to make behavior changes yet, that's okay. Because awareness comes before action. Start with this. Set up screen time app limits on your mobile device. On iPhone, it's called screen time. On Android, it's digital well-being. Both are free. Both are already built into your phone, and both will give you data that will surprise you. Start there. That's where we're starting, with awareness, with honesty, and with what the research actually tells us about balanced digital engagement. In the next video in this series, we're going to talk about adult screen time and the cognitive impact or the brain impact. Drop your screen time number in the comments. I want to know where you're starting from. No judgment, only data. And if you got a strategy that's working for you that I didn't mention, share it, because we're building this community of digital wellness together. This is Corner Talk, where we get real about technology, rooted in research and ready for real life. I'll see you in the next one. Shalom.